who is catching up. Great to have you here on Catch Up as well. So let me just share my screen, and we will get going. Just close down the chat. I have got my bunting up behind me, by the way. I've got my swishy satin skirt on, which you can't see. I'm drinking a glass of zero alcohol fizz, and I am in such a great mood, having been looking at all of your brilliant comments in the Facebook group and all your aha moments and all of that good stuff. Anyone else? Is anyone else having a glass of fizz right now, or a gin and tonic, or maybe a nice herbal tea? Let me know what you've got on the go. You definitely deserve to be celebrating yourselves after all the amazing energy you've brought to this event this week. So I am also buzzing because about 45 minutes ago, I worked out our 2 competition winners. Just to say, I have noticed that they are both here this evening. Just saying. And so we're going to be announcing the competition winners in a little bit. So stay tuned to the end to find that out. Very, very exciting. And then this is the rest of what we're going to be doing in this workshop. We're going to be finalising our legal action plan in just a moment. We're going to be bringing it all together with my top tips moving forwards, including the easier and faster path to getting your legal protection in place, even if you don't have the budget to spend on, getting a bespoke contract done, having your own lawyer drafting your contract for you. We have got lots of experience in helping people get their essential legal protection in place that they know they can rely on in the most cost-effective way. It's a really innovative way of doing it. I can't wait to share that with you later on. And of course, announcing the winner of the competition. So we are going to start by finishing off your action plan. So during the course of the workshops, you will, as you know, you've been filling in the workbook. Maybe Bev can share the workbook again, just in case there's anyone here who hasn't got that to hand. So we have been working through the workbook, and you have worked through a table in the workbook where you have set out each of your products and services, whether it's something that you're selling right now or something that you're going to be selling in the future, maybe in the next 12 months, for example. And we worked out whether you need an individual agreement or tick box terms and conditions. We worked out whether you're supplying to consumers or non-consumers. We also worked out all of the things that you need in terms of your online presence. So if you've got any gaps in that table, then by all means, at the end of the session, you can ask me questions about those gaps, if you've got any gaps left in the table. If you've got gaps, but you haven't yet watched the workshops, then when you watch the workshops, which you can do in the hub, the recordings are there for you to catch up, then you will be able to fill in the gaps in your table. So if you watch the workshops, you can fill in the gaps. But if you watch the workshops and you've still got a few queries, then by all means, you can ask questions at the end and I will happily answer those for you. But what I want to do this evening, just to finish off your action plan, I'd love for you to revisit the box at the top of page 4, which was, what is the next thing that I am promoting? And I'm aware that if you are just starting out in business, that could also be the first thing that you're promoting, or it could be you've already got a number of products and services and you're adding in a new product or service, or it could be that you've decided that, you know, for the next quarter, the main emphasis is on a certain product or service. So I just want you to revisit, what is that, the next thing that you are promoting? And then what I'm going to get you to do is to fill in the box on page 5, which are, here are the legal foundations I need to get in place for my business in order of priority. Okay, so for many of you, what I expect that will look like is it's likely to be a client contract. It may be that that contract is the format that we talked about, which is an agreement, that traditional looking format. It may be that it's tick box terms and conditions. And we know now, if you've watched Workshop 2, we know now how you work out which format is best for your product or service. And so number 1 is likely to be the type of client contract that you need for whatever it is that you're promoting next, whether that's your first thing or the thing that you're concentrating on. Okay, so that's likely to be number 1. Now, it could be that number 2 is also a type of client contract. So maybe number 1 is an agreement, because you know that the next thing that you're promoting is high ticket. It's a high ticket product or service. You need to get an agreement in place for that. It may be that you were also at the same time or shortly afterwards going to be launching or promoting something lower cost. So maybe a digital product or an online course or something like that. In which case, the number 2 might well be tick box terms and conditions, or it could be the other way around. So it may be that 1 and 2 are a type of client contract. It could be that 1, 2, 3, 4 are all types of client contract, because you've got that many different things going in your business and each needs a different type of contract. But it may well be that number 2 or number 3, for example, is your privacy policy and your website terms of use. And maybe it's your cookie policy as well. Maybe you haven't got any of those things in place. It may be that one of those documents is a collaboration agreement, because you know that you're doing something together. You're collaborating with someone to put on an event of some kind, or to jointly promote something, or to create something. It may be that one of the documents or one of the essential legal foundations in that order of priority is a team member contract, because you've realised that you really are not going to get to the next level without having an assistant to help you. Or maybe you need an associate coach or someone else to become a member of your team to help you to deliver your products and services. It may be that you've got a name that is really important to you, and you want to look into protecting that name, which you would do by a trademark. So I'd love to know what your legal foundations are that you need to get in place in order of priority. If you feel like it, I would love to hear in the chat what that looks like, or maybe just a reminder of what is the next thing that you're promoting. Cheers, Savvy. Cheers, everyone else. I'm just catching up on the chat. What have we got going? Lorna's drinking an iron brew. Savvy has a really nice gin and tonic. Bev has a glass of Sauvignon Blanc. Sammy's got a rum and coke. Brilliant. You are all joining in the party. Arhan's wearing her blue dress and drinking highly filtered pure water that you love. Oh, I love that. Cheers, everybody. Okay, so Sammy. Sammy's most important number 1 priority is client contract. Sammy, I'd love to know, remind me what it is that you are promoting next. Is it some kind of one-to-one service, I'm imagining? Let me know. Savvy. Okay, number 1, to set up as a sole trader. I can't remember, please forgive me, Savvy, because I know that you've been to so many of the things. I can't remember if you were at the bonus session we had earlier on today, but if you weren't at the bonus session, make sure to catch up on that, because we talk all about sole trader. And really, listen, I just want to say, don't get in your way in terms of setting up as a sole trader, because there's very little you need to do to get going. You can just get going. I'm just going to say that, Savvy. It's fine to have that as number 1, but that really won't take anything at all. And so then contract for career coaching. Brilliant. Okay, Sammy, a contract for one-to-one coaching and then HR advice. Interesting. Lorna's going to go over and double check her client contract. You were there, Savvy. Okay, so I don't need to do that pep talk around. You don't really need to do much to set up a sort of sole trader. So don't get in your own way about this. Helen, client contract for me for one-to-one coaching. Brilliant. I'm loving seeing this clarity. This is great, everybody. Arhan, privacy policy, cookie policy, tick box contract for digital products. Yes, Arhan, this makes me so, so happy. It's wonderful to see all of this clarity, everybody. Look at the confidence with which you're talking about these legal things. It's absolutely brilliant. Colleen, I have it all to do, and I think I'll begin by creating client contracts and privacy policy. Yes, that is what I would hope to hear you saying, Colleen. Start with the client contracts, because the discipline and the process of going through your client contract, it helps to bring into reality, to pull into, you know, this plane of existence, your services as well. Because in order to do your client contract, you have to be really precise about what you're offering. And that helps to make things concrete, and it helps to make them real. So there is kind of magical, I'm going to say, it's like an alchemical process getting that contract done. Believe me, it's pulling it all into reality, into the here and now, into the existence. It really is like an alchemical process. That's the first time I've ever said that about contracts. I talk about contracts often as an exchange of energy, but I think I am from now on also going to talk about them as an alchemical process, because it brings it into existence. Savvy, also to get my professional indemnity insurance in place. Amazing. Look how you know the right type of insurance you need to get in place, Savvy. That is brilliant. Arhan said, I love that, the alchemical process of getting contracts in place. Absolutely. I promise you, it really is an alchemical process. To hear you all talking with such confidence about all of these legal priorities absolutely makes my heart sing. You have made so much progress. I am absolutely delighted and excited and so proud of you all. Before we move on and talk a bit more about all of that wonderful progress that you've made, I would love to hear about a big goal you've got for your business. Now, we did have a post about this in the Facebook group, and do you remember at the start of the week I said, oh, I was a bit concerned about you lot at the start of the week because nobody introduced themselves and you were all being really, you know, quiet. And I said, I don't blame you, because I know that we, you know, sometimes we get fed up about Facebook groups and, you know, and all of the times that we need to introduce ourselves and introduce our businesses. And I have to say, since then, you really have made up for it. And I really feel that I've been able to get to know you during the course of this week and about your businesses. And so that's been wonderful. So thank you again for sharing so generously with all of your thoughts and feelings and emotions around all of this and all of your takeaways. So, you know, we put a post in the Facebook group about tell me one dream goal of your business. And some of you got stuck in as you do, which was brilliant. So Savvy said, to be able to do what I'm really passionate about, not only in a corporate setting, but in general too, to have financial freedom and to provide my family with the wonderful life they deserve, which I love to hear. Nicola said, provide me with the vision to help those I want to and the freedom and financial reward to enjoy it. Nina said, winning awards for the work I do, which I loved, Nina. I loved the specificity of that. Lorna said to be able to freelance full time. Arhan said to write a book. Again, I loved the specificity of that. So what I would really like is if you could share a dream goal for your business. But before you do that, I do like hearing, and I completely relate to that, the sentiment or the intention, should I say, of wanting to have financial freedom. of wanting to be in control of our lives, what our days, our weeks, our months, our years look like. I absolutely get that, because that's one of the, most wonderful things about my business, for sure, as well as the fact that I get to help wonderful business owners like you feel confident to provide the sorts of services you do. We know you all do wonderful things. But I would love to hear those kind of fun, out there type of thing. If you've got any of those, you might not, and that's fine. So, Arhan, I love hearing about how you want to write a book. Nina, winning awards for the work you do. Maybe you would like to partner with somebody who's a real thought leader in your area. Maybe you would like to come up with a new way of doing something that becomes, really well known in your sector and becomes the kind of lead way to do things. Maybe you'd like to run a retreat in Bali. There could be all sorts of things. So if you've got anything more that you would like to share in terms of dream goals of that nature, then I would love to hear them. Savvy said, Han, I would really love to write a book too. I love hearing about that, Savvy. So many of my clients have written books. And so I believe 100% that is something that you can and will do. So I look forward to hearing about that. Arhan said, to speak on stage with a world leader who has changed my life by invitation. Yes, absolutely. I love it. And I definitely know some of you were talking about retreats and retreats that you're already running and want to run as well. And so one of the reasons I wanted to talk about this is that I know for sure that it is entirely possible that those dream goals, those real kind of stretch, slightly outrageous, makes you feel a bit uncomfortable and makes you a bit anxious when you think about it, are entirely possible, because I see clients who achieve these sorts of goals all the time. And they are clients that often I have supported right from the early days, like my very, very first client when I left corporate life. And she became my client before I'd even left corporate life, actually. And I went to a training that she ran, and it was a Danielle Laporte Desire Map training. And it was as a result of that training, it was amazing that I actually handed in my notice at my mainstream corporate job. And the coach who ran the training became my very first client. And that's how, word started spreading in the coaching and mentoring and kind of wellness world, which then spread obviously to consultants and other online services providers as well. But that's how my business really got going. And that client is still my client today. And she went from, in those early days, 10 years ago, really fairly quickly, by the way. I mean, she's still my client 10 years on, but really fairly quickly, her business progressed from running workshops to, for just, a few people, to a couple of months later, she was running workshops for many more people in really beautiful farmhouses, to speaking at speaking gigs in Bali, to writing a book, to producing a magazine. You name it, she has gone on to do it. And that's not just a one-off story. It's things that I see all the time. People writing books, people running retreats, people collaborating with thought leaders in their area. So I know that this is absolutely possible for you. And what I wanted to say is, although this week we've been concentrating on the nuts and bolts of what you need to make sure that you have your basic legal foundations in place, something else that is a wonderful result of talking over and thinking through and knowing how to think through about risks and legal documents that you need to have in place for certain things, having conversations around those things when they're big, bold, daring goals, gives you the confidence to have conversations with the people that I guarantee you will have some connection to in your network. And if you don't now, and if maybe you're just leaving corporate life and you haven't yet started to kind of grow your entrepreneurial network, you will start to have those connections very, very quickly. And so there's a very good chance that you will already have within your network somewhere connections to the people that lie between you and achieving those big goals. Sorry, I've got a frog in my throat. And so by getting clarity around the potential risks related to your big goals and what you would do to manage those risks and what type of intellectual property might be involved and what agreements you would need to have in place with third parties that you're going to get involved to help you at your retreat or your event, to help you write your book. Having clarity around that means that you then have the confidence to, you know, write a few notes, work out the things that you will need to get in place, and then start to have the conversation to get those things in place. And again, it's that alchemical process. Getting clear on those things takes away that feeling of, oh, who am I to do this? I don't really know what I'm talking about. I'm playing way ahead of myself here. I'm ahead of the game here. I need to catch up. I don't really know what I'm doing. That kind of shame around stepping up when you don't think you've got the knowledge you need to have. Let me tell you, those people a bit further ahead likely don't have that knowledge as well. And if you get clarity around those things and then start having these conversations, you are going to sound really impressive, really professional, and it will help to make the next steps materialize before your very eyes. So I just wanted to say that while we've been talking about all of the basic legal foundations, which will make a difference to how you show up in your business every day, there are also wonderful big conversations that I love to have with my clients around those big goals, and very quickly you get the confidence to start having the conversations with the third parties that you need to have in order to make those goals become a reality. So I know that all of these things are there and available to you, and you know, we can absolutely take away the fear for all of these things. Sammy said, such a great question. I don't know. I just generally wanted to actually launch my business. That is fine, Sammy. That is fine, because for you right now, that is the big goal, and you almost can't see beyond that. So you just need to get your contract together, and, you know, and get it out there. As Savvy said, I would love to run a live group coaching session somewhere abroad in tropical sun, enabling people to have an abundance of joy in their lives. I would also love to have my own podcast. Yes, I love hearing about that, Savvy. Arhan, that is said that is so right, Tash. Savvy said, Arhan, maybe you can help me to publish the book. I love that. Yeah, and also just making connections and community is so important. Arhan said it would be my privilege. Great, I love this. Lorna said, I've thought about starting a podcast too, Savvy. Well, look, thank you everybody for sharing your dream goals. I cannot wait to see what you all do, and the way that you've got to grips with the things that were holding you back this week, and kind of shone a light on them, and really kind of got to grips with some tricky new concepts and now talking about them with such confidence. I absolutely believe that this is all there for you to grab and get hold of. What a week it's been. Let's just look at some of the progress you've made. So at the start in the Facebook group, there was a lot of talk about things feeling scary. What if something horrible happens? Overwhelm. And these are some of the quotes from you taking part. So Michelle said, my nervousness about my contract has been holding me back from taking the next step. Lily said, it feels like a bit of a pit in my stomach and a little bit in my mouth. I know this stops me from confidently sharing my more expensive packages. And I know that Lily, one of those more expensive packages that stopped you from sharing was your retreat packages. Catherine said, I have documents in place, but in the back of my mind, I doubt they're correct and would actually support me if I needed them to. And we talked a lot about how sometimes, you know, we try and pull things together ourselves, or we get given a sample contract, but actually in reality, they are often missing, have huge gaps in them. And it leads you to feeling, just like Catherine mentioned here, you've got something in place, but I just don't know if it's right, or I suspect it's wrong. And that's just a different energy completely. Helen said, legal stuff scares me. I want to make sure I get it right, but I need support. Sammy said, I'm literally just starting out. I don't have a clue where I'm at or which way is up. So this is all very daunting. And I was totally petrified and feeling very out of my depth. And then in just 1 week, these are some of the ways in which you've changed how you're talking about this whole topic. Helen said, your approach to all the legal stuff is really breaking down some barriers. I'd even go so far to say that I'm starting to look forward to developing my contract. Helen, that is a massive step forward. Oh my goodness. I was happy to read that. Sammy said, it has given me so much to think about, which has not scared me. It's just made me want to dive in. Sammy, that is absolutely brilliant. What a result. Savvy said, I'm so glad that I joined and also upgraded to the VIP. I've learned so much and I have been holding back on doing what I need to and want to do. This makes me so happy to get rid of all of that heaviness and just put you in a place where you feel ready and empowered and confident to take the next steps and actually get all of this in place. And then I had to kind of finish with that celebration element with just sharing some of Arhan's posts from earlier on, which just summed up so much of why I do what I do. And I know that, the difference, that's the reason that I get out of bed in the morning, and help you all get all of these things in place. So Arhan said, I've been almost paralyzed with fear of starting my work for longer than I cared to admit. I knew legals were so important for me to feel good and right in myself from the start about the integrity I want built into the very fibre of my business and who I want to attract into it. This week is honestly invaluable. It helps me feel calm about the legalities, like I'm in control of the lay of the land just in front of me right now and over the next year, like I can do this and I'm not drowning with info, because that's some of the problem, isn't it? Is that there's so much information out there. And when it's a specialist technical thing like legal documents, how do you know what is right and how do you know what's wrong? Arhan said, you're showing me I'm not doing this alone and there is the right support out there for what I want to build. It's like having green flags where before it felt like they were only red. Now with the underlining message, go fly. Arhan, I love that so much. Thank you for sharing that. And that's what I want from this event. And I can't wait to see all of you go fly and get your wonderful services out there into the world, because your people absolutely need you. They're just waiting for you to get your message out there, and to get your support and your services out there. So imagine how you will feel if you've made all of that progress in 1 week just from learning about what you need to get in place. Imagine how you will feel when you get legal documents in place that you know you can trust. So what I'm going to do now is talk about how you might go about getting those things in place. Now that we've made all that progress and you understand the importance of it, how it's holding you back, the difference it's going to make in your business, and what you need for your business, let's look at ways in which you can get this in place. So we know that you need certain non-negotiable legal documents to protect you, and you've identified those in your action plan during the course of the week. We know that you need confidence in those documents, so you can rely on them when you need them most. There aren't any gaps. If you supply to consumers, they comply with consumer protection legislation. You're not going to get bitten on the bum by the 14-day cooling off period because you hadn't covered it all properly. All of that good stuff. And you need a way to get a hold of documents that are right for your business, which are written in a language that you and your clients will understand and that are legally correct. So your options in order to get all of these things in place. So one of the options, which I know some of you have been tempted by before, and I hope we've understood and kind of got to an understanding of why it isn't a good idea, and that is the temptation to do it for yourself. And the problem with that is, of course, you don't have a legal training, and when you get given sample contracts, for example, by your coach, it may be a coach that's from a different jurisdiction, and there's no guarantee also that their contract was drafted by someone who knew what they were doing, or indeed that their contract is right for your business. So doing it yourself or relying on documents that you find online or sample contracts is not something I recommend. And that's because I've been asked so many times to review those documents, and I know that despite your best efforts and how much time you might have put into it, although they might work for certain specific elements, more to do with the kind of the practical side of your business, for example, when it comes to that basic legal protection, they don't hold together. And I just looked at another contract last week, as I was talking about in the bonus session. A new client, he'd used a sample contract, he'd been given by the person that trained him, and he combines hypnotherapy with timeline therapy and other modalities as well. And it was just completely missing a limitation of liability clause, and it also didn't comply with consumer protection legislation. So do it yourself, I don't recommend. Another option, of course, is for you to get documents drafted for you, bespoke documents drafted for you by a traditional law firm, by a solicitor at a traditional law firm. That might be an option for you if you have an established business, and so you're kind of, a certain way down the path, you've got some cash flow going, and you've got cash flow that's spare that you can invest in getting legal documents done. If that's you, then what I would recommend is that you make sure that you use a solicitor who understands your type of business, because there are many solicitors who are very good at their job, but they're just not very familiar with the kind of business of coaching and mentoring, for example, and online programs and online services. So make sure it's someone who understands your type of business and who also is going to use the right kind of tone in the documents that you and your clients will relate to and will appreciate. That in terms of how much that's likely to cost you, very often it's done by an hourly rate, or you might get quoted a fixed fee, and typically that will be something like £250 plus VAT as an hourly rate. And what that translates into is probably, and it depends what kind of firm. Obviously, if you go to a big city law firm, it's going to cost more than a local high street firm. But if you go to a local high street firm, make sure it's an actual proper contracts lawyer, not, for example, a commercial property lawyer who sometimes turns his hand to commercial contracts if they come in, because that's often what happens in small town high street practices. But approximately £1,500 to £2,000 plus VAT for contracts or terms and conditions for those more meaty documents. And then for your website documents, you might be looking at something like £800 plus VAT. Usually that will be invoiced in one lump sum. And if you're a new client, it could well be that you're asked for at least some of that, if not all of it, in advance. So that's what it looks like if you're going to use a traditional law firm. Now, don't get too horrified, because for many small business owners, that is just not realistic. And we know that, and that's why we've come up with a really innovative way to help you at a much more cash flow friendly kind of level. We do have a done for you service. I only take on a limited amount of one-to-one work, but I do take on one-to-one work. And because I specialize in your kinds of businesses, because I work from home and I don't have the big overheads of law firms, then it is a very kind of competitive service compared to other more traditional law firms. So if that's something that you're interested in, you're further along in your business journey, then by all means do get in touch, and we'd be happy to help you with that kind of one-to-one element. However, as I said, don't panic. We've got you. We have a way to help you. So we know that you need non-negotiable legal documents to protect you. You need confidence in those documents. You need a way to get hold of those documents so that you know they're right for your business and written in language that you and your clients will understand. So what we have come up with in order to help our clients is what we call the Legal Lifesaver Sprint. So we developed this about 18 months ago now. So we've had several rounds of people go through it, and we know it absolutely works. So it's our tried and tested, done with you. It's a live, done with you program where we guarantee that you'll get in place your most important legal protection, and we hold your hand every step of the way in getting those documents in place. So by the end of the Legal Lifesaver Sprint, you will have the following in place. Your most important client contract for whatever it is that you are promoting right now. And then there's two options for the Legal Lifesaver Sprint. So there's one option that you can choose, which is just to get your most important client contract in place. And then there's a second option where you get your client contract in place and those website documents that we have talked about. So your website terms of use to limit your liability for your website content and protect your intellectual property. Your GDPR compliant privacy policy, which I have updated to include the data complaints policy. You know, I talked about we've got this new legislation come in. Well, they are updated to include the kind of best practice in relation to that. Your cookie policy and cookie pop-up where required. So there's two options. And this is how it works. So the thing that was most important for us when putting together this Done With You program was that we stripped away all of the overwhelm and keep it as straightforward and simple as possible. So what we do is we send you the best type of client contract. So you fill in a short form and we decide which type of client contract is best for you. So instead of just getting a load of information and then you have to decide yourself and work it out, we do that for you. And then we send you that document, make it really straightforward. The starting point for the contracts is our legal template. So they've been drafted by me with all of my experience and all of my specific experience of specializing in helping businesses like yours, which I've developed over the last 10 years. So the starting point already is so much better than any of the generic templates that you would get out of there. And then we support you step by step in adapting the template and the legal documents to suit you, your business and your circumstances. And this is the secret sauce. You complete the documents during dedicated sprint sessions hosted by me. So you come along and you do the work there and then, and that's how we make sure that you get it done so you don't get in your own way. We hold your hand and keep you moving forward all the way. So you get 2 legal sprint sessions for you to bring your legal documents along and work on it in real time with me there to answer any questions like, can I leave this in? Can I take this out? Does this work for me? You know, down to the kind of nitty gritty, all of the little detail. So it's 2 legal sprint sessions. If you do the website documents, you get 3 legal sprint sessions. And then during the time of the program, there are Q&A sessions as well in a Facebook group where you can ask your questions. I will answer your questions. And so those are in addition to the sprint sessions. There's a friendly pop-up Facebook group during the program. You get a video walkthrough of me going through your template document, kind of so that I'm in your ear as well. So as well as the sprint sessions, you also have a video of me talking you through the document. And if you go for the website document option, then there's a tech session with our in-house team to support you with questions about identifying cookies, and your consent mechanisms, your cookie consent mechanism. Can't get my words out. Your cookie consent mechanisms as well. So as I say, that's just for the website documents option. And the reason this works so well, and the reason that we feel confident to guarantee that you will get the documents done, is because we know all of the things that come up and get in your way, and we've designed it to deal with all of those things. So if you're thinking, but I find the whole thing really scary and overwhelming, I just don't know where to start, you know, we get you over that problem because we select the document that you're going to work on and we send it directly to your inbox. And then, as I said, you've got those 2 or 3 sprint sessions. You come along and you do the work there and then, hosted by me, answering your questions and holding your hand all the way through it. So we just make sure that you don't get in your own way. We answer your questions, you get the work done, and we hold you gently accountable, and it really works. As Julie said, who took part in the last but one round, you actually get something at the end of it. You can say, look, here's my contract, here's my terms and conditions, these are my policies for my cookies and privacy, and you actually get that in your hand, which you can use, and that's gold. The other thing that we know gets in your way is that you're so busy and you just haven't got the time. Again, because we strip away all of this decision making, we don't just give you a load of information and then leave you to try and kind of dig your way through that information. We cut out the overwhelm and the decision making, so it's the fastest and most efficient way to get your legal protection in place. And Helen said, knowing that it was giving me a deadline has meant I've achieved so much more work in the time than I necessarily would have done if I've been trying to kind of plow through it, figuring it out on my own, looking through things backwards and forwards independently. And the other thing that we know comes up and has come up a little bit during the course of the week is that I know some of you are kind of, well, I've got something in place already. I don't know if it's up to scratch. In fact, I know it's not up to scratch, but I hate the idea of starting again. And we've already talked about this in the Q&A, but the honest answer to that is, unless you have documents that were drafted for you by a lawyer, my experience over the last 10 years of reviewing many of those types of documents is that they won't give you the protection you need. And so if you've copied or created your own documents, they will have gaps and they'll hold you back. And the problem is, and again, we talked about this in the Q&A, you can see the hourly rate of contract lawyers. So to pay a contract lawyer to review those documents for you will cost a significant amount of money, and that's before they've actually done the work. A much better way of going about it is to start again with a template that is relevant to you and your business, that you know has got all of those basic legal foundations in place, it holds together legally, and then amend that to suit your business. And it may be there are elements of your existing contract that you can lift out and put into the other document, but that's a much better way around to do things. So how much does this cost? I know that you're dying to know. So there are 2 options that I mentioned. The first is just getting your contract done, and that is £390, but we also make it really easy for you to make it cash flow friendly by spreading the cost across 3 months. So that would be 3 payments of £130. Or if you want to get your contract and your website documents done, then that option is £597. Again, you can spread the cost over 3 payments of £199. And so we are opening the doors to this live round now. So at the end of this session, the doors will open. And then you've got until Thursday at 8 o'clock to decide, you know, if that's right or not. But we have limited places because there's so much hand holding goes on. we do limit the places. So if you know this is right for you, I do recommend that you take action as soon as you can. Now, guess what we're going to do next? We are going to announce the winners of the competitions. Okay, drum roll, everybody. So the first competition that I'm going to announce the winner of is our interaction engagement competition. So this is for a voucher, and you will get to choose between a Marks and Spencer's, a John Lewis, or an Amazon voucher. Okay, and the winner is Lorna Smart. Well done, Lorna. And it's kind of fitting, actually, because you were the first person to introduce yourself on the introductions thread, and you have been very, very proactive in the group. So well done, Laura. We will be getting in touch with you to find out what type of voucher you would like. And now, the next winner I'm going to announce is the winner of the legal competition. So this winner is going to get a place on the legal lifesaver sprint. So all of that wonderful support that we've just talked about, you're going to get that, and a contract review call with me as well. So the winner is a very worthy winner. This person has been really involved and interactive all the way through. So it felt very fitting when their name got chosen. I did it chosen by chance this afternoon. I went, yeah, that makes sense. So the winner is, drum roll please, everybody, Savvy. Savvy, you're the winner. Well done, and a very worthy winner as well. You've been such a great part of everything this week. So well done, Savvy. But look, if you're feeling disappointed, don't worry, because we've got something else to kind of cheer you up, which is a fast action bonus. So for the first 5 people to join, whether it's for the contract only route or the contract and website documents, you will get a one-to-one contract review with me as well. So that's a really great fast action bonus for the first 5 people to join. So all I need to do now is share the link with you. So hopefully Bev, if she hasn't done already, will now share a link in the chat so that it's a link that you can click on. I will leave that there so that you can see the link, but there's a clickable link in the chat. And what I'm going to do now is see whether we've got any questions. So by all means, if you have any questions, I realise there's a lot of information to take on there about the Legal Lifesaver Sprint. If you've got any questions about what it involves, whether it's right for you, then please, by all means, put those questions in. Now, I would recommend, if possible, that if you have questions, you could put them in the Q&A box, because it's just easier for me to find them. But I am going to go through the chat as well. But if you have any questions, the quickest way for me to find them is to put them in the Q&A box. But I also just want to say, before I dig into the chat, well done, everybody. It's been such a gorgeous group of people in this cohort, the September 2025 Legal Launchpad folk. I've absolutely loved helping you all and loved all of the things that you've shared with me as well. So I am deeply grateful to you all. And I'm just going to get stuck into the chat now and see what you have got to say. Oh, Savvy was talking about Arhan's post. It was a beautiful post. Savvy said, Arhan, I love this post and I totally am aligned with you. And Colleen said the same. Thank you, everybody. This makes it all worthwhile for me. I love to hear the difference it's making to you all and with your businesses. Arhan said, you're so appreciated, Tash and Team Launchpad. It's been so good to meet everyone here too. Yeah, what a wonderful feeling of community there's been all this week. It's been so lovely to see you already reaching out and supporting each other. It's absolutely wonderful. Savvy said, I absolutely agree with Arhan.